So much of being a good quarterback in the NFL is finding the right balance between aggression and restraint. That's the story of Trevor Lawrence's career. Early on, he was too much of a gunslinger, often passing up easy yards and forcing the ball downfield. Then later, the pendulum swung too far in the other direction, as his effort to get the ball out quickly sometimes caused him to miss out on big plays. Part of his difficulty in finding that balance can be attributed to a lack of consistency in Lawrence's surroundings. He's on his fourth play caller in his fifth season, and until now, he never had a reliable offensive line or receiving core. But Jaguars head coach and offensive play caller Liam Coen has brought some long overdue stability to the Jaguars offense, and that stability has allowed Lawrence's play to trend back in the direction of aggression. Right now, Lawrence is taking more shots downfield than he ever has in his pro career. Since week 12, Lawrence has a deep pass attempt rate of over 20%, which is the second highest rate in the league. Those deep pass attempts have generated an average of over 16 yards, an adjusted completion percentage of over 60%, and a passer rating of 127.1. Coen has done a great job of scheming up high percentage throws deep down the field, and his success in doing this was on full display in week 15 against the Jets. The primary objective of Coen's game plan was to abuse New York's linebackers in pass coverage, and there's a play from late in the first half that's a great example of how he did it. But first, let me show you the play that preceded it. The Jags are in a 2-minute drill with about 30 seconds left in the first half, so this is a passing down, despite the fact that it's 1st and 10. Pre-snap, Jacksonville comes out in a trips look, with 3 receivers to Lawrence's left and the back to his right. New York is in a 2-high safety shell with off coverage down at the bottom on the strong side and press coverage up top on the weak side. The call is quarters, which is a 4 deep, 3 underneath coverage. Coen dialed up a stop-and-go route for Jakobi Meyers on the strong side, but the coverage was too soft for him to stack the wide corner. Lawrence felt pressure, and his check-down attempt to the tight end in the flat fell incomplete. But before I move on to the next play, I want to focus on how this quarters call works on the weak side of this 3-by-1 set. The weak side wide corner is in press man coverage on the X receiver with inside bracket help from the weak side safety. That means the linebacker is one-on-one with the back, which isn't an important detail here because the back stayed in pass protection, but it will be important on the next play. The incompletion set up 2nd and 10, and Jacksonville again came out in a 3-by-1 set, which the Jets matched with the exact same pre-snap look. It's a 2-high shell with off coverage on the strong side and press man on the weak side. The route combination on the 3-receiver side is known as double China return, but the key combination here is on the weak side. Brian Thomas, lined up in the X receiver spot, releases inside on a dig route, which activates the wide corner's inside help from the weak side safety. That inside release also sets a pick on the linebacker as he has to pursue Travis Etienne running a deep rail route from the backfield. Another key detail here is Etienne's pre-snap motion that put him outside of the right tackle. Because Etienne was already away from the offensive line, there was no bend in his route. He was able to get vertical from the moment the ball was snapped, which essentially gave him a 2-way go at full speed. That is a damn near impossible assignment for Jets linebacker Quincy Williams, who had no help from the safety because of Brian Thomas's inside release. Just an awesome design that allowed Trevor Lawrence to push the ball downfield without a razor-thin margin for error in a 2-minute drill. Earlier on in this game, Jacksonville tried to run a quick screen to Etienne in the flat. They came out in 21 personnel with 2 backs and 1 tight end, and sent Etienne in pre-snap motion from a stack formation to set up the screen on the opposite side. But the Jets defense was all over it. Look at how hard these second-level defenders triggered on the screen pass. Etienne had no chance. But Liam Coen noticed how New York reacted to this call, and made them pay for their aggression on the following drive. Here, Jacksonville comes out in a slightly different formation, but with the same personnel on the field, and Etienne again lined up out wide in a stack formation. Pre-snap, Jacksonville sends him on a different motion, but similar in that he ends up in the flat. They pair the motion with power action up front by pulling the left guard out right to simulate a gap scheme run design. The weak side linebacker and wide corner bite hard on Etienne's movement to the flat, just like they did on the previous drive. And the strong side linebacker is held in the middle of the field by the run action up front. That gets Bayshal Tootin wide open on a rail route over the second-level defenders on the weak side, and Lawrence hits him on time for a 16-yard touchdown. There was another sequence of plays in the third quarter where Coen set up a deep shot to Brenton Strange, the tight end, also coming from the backfield. Here, with about 8 minutes left in the third quarter, Jacksonville comes out with Strange lined up at fullback in an I formation. They run inside zone weak, and the play goes for a 2-yard gain. It seems inconsequential, but that play set up this one on the following drive. Again, it's an I formation with Strange in the backfield, but this time they run sail, with Strange running the sail route from the backfield. And he could not have been more open. Look at how hard these linebackers bit on the run fake. This is what it can look like when an offensive play caller is effective in his sequence of calls. Coen not only targeted New York's linebackers in this game, he conditioned them to expect the ball to go to one place, only for it to go somewhere completely different. When targeting players coming from the backfield in this game, which includes not only the backs but also the tight end when he lined up at fullback, Trevor Lawrence went 6 for 7 for 120 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's an average of over 17 yards per pass attempt and a perfect passer rating. On all of those plays I just showed you, Coen's designs gave Trevor Lawrence easy answers downfield, and that has been an invaluable element of this Jaguars offense lately. But an area in which Coen does not give Lawrence easy answers is against heavy blitzes. And that isn't necessarily a criticism of Coen. To an extent, you want Trevor Lawrence to put on the cape and play hero ball against the blitz, because in order to truly punish a defense for blitzing, as an offense you need to be ultra aggressive. Here, for example, it's 3rd and 10, and Trevor Lawrence knows the blitz is coming because both linebackers bit on his pre-snap hard count. The Jags have 7 in protection here, so every possible blitzer is accounted for. But this route concept takes a long time to develop. It's a double cross concept, sometimes known as spear, when it's paired with a deep clear out from the X receiver. It'll take a good 3 seconds for these receivers to start to separate on their crossing routes, and that's probably enough time for one of the 7 pass rushers to win. So as soon as Lawrence starts to feel pressure coming from his right, he bails out of the back of the pocket. Then, off his back foot, he rifles one to Parker Washington in stride. A real throw of the year candidate to beat the heavy blitz on 3rd and long. He did this last week too. It's 3rd and 9, and Indianapolis shows cover 0 with 8 defenders on the line of scrimmage and off coverage in the secondary. Downfield, it's the same concept that you just saw. Double cross with a clear out post from the number 1 on the 2 receiver side. Jacksonville again keeps 7 in protection, but the safety still gets in free off the edge because Indianapolis had 8 defenders walked up pre-snap. So the protection scheme could not account for every possible rusher. Post-snap, Lawrence feels the free runner pursue him off the edge and bails out of the pocket to make him miss. Then, while rolling left, he hits Tim Patrick in stride for a gain of 26 on 3rd and long. The Jags offense tends to be out-schemed against heavy blitzes, or at least ostensibly out-schemed because scheme can't account for the rocket launcher attached to Trevor Lawrence's right shoulder. Liam Coen doesn't usually answer heavy blitz looks with hot reads or tunnel screens because his offense is apparently better off allowing Trevor Lawrence to make magic happen when the heavy blitz comes. Jacksonville's offense against the blitz is one of the coolest things in football right now. They're just fighting fire with fire, and it's working. This is what Trevor Lawrence was always supposed to look like. Doug Peterson had his moments as a play caller, but it was never enough to overcome the lack of talent in Jacksonville's offensive line and receiving corps. The supporting cast is far from perfect, but better than it's ever been for Trevor, and Liam Coen is proving himself to be a truly elite play caller. Now, this doesn't mean that Lawrence is going to look like an MVP every week. They won't get to play the Jets in the playoffs, and we saw Lawrence throw the ball directly to the defense twice just 4 weeks ago. But that's the price you have to pay with Lawrence as your quarterback. As his play caller, you have to take the good with the bad, because when he's set up to succeed, the good will almost always outweigh the bad. The Jags are still a few pieces away from a Super Bowl quality roster, but Trevor Lawrence is red hot as the end of the regular season nears, and that should scare AFC defenses. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's video. If you enjoyed, please hit subscribe to help us reach 60,000 by the end of the season. But that's all I've got for today, so until next time, take care.